I started this channel to discuss topics related to IT leadership. Basically, what would make an effective leader? And since my background is within the technology aspect, so I cover topics which relate to leadership, but concerning specifically to an IT organization where a leader would have to lead operations, design strategy, carry out remediation, any of that aspects around that. So, going upon that trend of talking about leadership within an IT organization, I'm going to talk today about some of those key traits and those behaviors which would make somebody an effective leader. And this is targeted towards those people who are maybe going to become in a position where they'll be managing a team, or there already are people. They are, are leaders in some capacity. And again, the five key traits that I'm going to talk about in this video, regardless of the level of leadership, whether again you are just managing a few people or whether you're leading a division, they apply equally well all across the board. And the reason I'm making this video specifically today is it goes back to my own time when I was first leading, teams. Nobody told me, Zeeshan, this is what you need to do, or this is what behavior you should depict, or these are the key skills you need to know. So I made some mistakes, and they were tough times, right? I made some mistakes, but I learned along the way. I started reading upon that. I got some coaching and I observed what good leaders do. So I've built up some skills which have helped me be effective in what I do today. But again, the pain goes back to my own time where I wish I had known what are those key skills. At least, just those few key skills which I should develop in myself before I ended up in a leadership position. So that is why, again, going back to my own pain point, that is what spurred the video, and I'm going to talk about those five key skills which will make you an effective leader. The first thing I'm going to talk about is about being true to your values. Again, just let me illustrate what I mean by that. Imagine that you're at your funeral and people are reading a eulogy. And when they're reading a eulogy for you, what are they going to say about you? How are they going to say or describe you as a person? And it's an effective tip to kind of visualize of what you would want to be remembered by. What are those key skills, those key behaviors which people want to think, okay, you know what? Zeeshan was a good person, he was helpful, or he was supportive, he was collaborative, I don't know. What are those key values which are important for you? And when you become a manager, and when you're leading somebody, when you're leading some teams, you're acting in a leadership position, these core values remain very important, and you have to be true to these core values. What happens is that people somehow take up a different persona. I'm not sure why it happens. Maybe it's the pressure, or you suddenly feel that you are on a spotlight and all the people you're leading, they're looking towards you for some answers, and you've got to take upon that persona to come across as that person. But problem is that when you try to become and step into some some fictitious persona, people can see that. They can see that it's not you. And this is a mistake so many people make, that they act in a different capacity and they act in a different way when they're in front of their friends or colleagues. In fact, forget colleagues. When they're in front of their friends or family, they are a different person. And when they're in front of the people they're meant to be leading, they act differently. And again, I'm not saying that you want to have a career, you want to start laughing or telling jokes all around. No, it's about those core values. And I've seen it, so many people do that. They behave differently. What that does is that you might think that you're trying to fool somebody, but you're not fooling anybody but your own self. And the people you are trying to lead, they can see through that. And that doesn't, the trust doesn't develop over there then. And because they don't trust you, because you're trying to be somebody else, the trust in your leadership doesn't really remain there. And this was one of the mistakes that I tried to make, because I wasn't comfortable and I didn't know what to do. And rather than be who I am, I tried to be who I thought I should be. But that was the wrong thing to do. So for me, there are certain values where I value people, I value relationships, and I like to do things in a collaborative way. I felt that, again, from my own reflection, I felt that maybe I was under pressure to deliver certain results, or be seen as, when people appoint you in that position, you want to kind of show that you can live up to that mark. But looking back at it now, years later, I feel I was the only one putting all that pressure on me. And things would have been so more effective, things would have been so better if I had just remained true to who I was rather than try and be somebody else. So, the first step is that make sure you know and identify your values. And I've given you the trip of imagining what would be read about you in your eulogy, and then remaining true to those values, because you will then cultivate your values and people will know and trust you for those values, which will help you in a very, make a very good start with your team, because trust is, you need to establish trust as a leader. The second thing is that don't micromanage. Provide goals, define outcomes, and set expectations, but then let the people carry on with what they're doing. I mean, these are people who work for us. We somehow, I don't know why, but we somehow forget that these people are leading very full and very, rich lives outside of the work environment. These people are going into relationships, they're getting married, they're buying houses, which are all major decisions, and they're doing it without any supervision from us. So why do we feel that when they come to work, we have to micromanage and supervise every single thing? Why do we have to become such a control freak? Sorry for using this term, but I don't think I can define it any other way. Micromanaging, it just means that the people you're leading, they lose confidence in their own abilities. And they're constantly looking for your directions because they feel they'll be reprimanded by you. What you should do is that tell them what the end goal is, define what the final outcome is, and then just let them do what they need to do. Yes, give them guidance. Yes, be there if there are problems to support them through, but trust in the ability of the people, which means when you're trusting the ability of your reports, whether they are direct or indirect reports, they will start trusting in your ability as a leader, which means it will be kind of a shared and joint ownership of whatever you are doing, which is what you really want from your team. The next one is to be open to feedback from your team, and then you should be open to changing your own opinion. This was something I wasn't very good at. Again, I feel that I was putting a lot of pressure when I first started up, in a leadership position, in a management position, and I was trying to basically say that we're going to do a certain thing a certain way. This is my idea, and let's just go with that. What I forgot was that a lot of people who worked for me, technically they were experts, subject matter experts within their own particular area. And they perhaps knew more than me in certain things, where I should, carrying on from my last step, that where I should have focused upon the end goal and then relied upon them to give some feedback or maybe develop a collaborative plan. I was trying to kind of be hesitant to change, which meant that I did change. I did, change my opinion of how I would do things, but there was always this friction. Luckily, I learned from that mistake before it was too late, right? But again, now I've totally changed my approach to how I do things. What I do now is that I'll go in a session and I'll tell my guys that this is what I want to achieve. This is the end goal, and this is perhaps the time where we need to achieve this goal by. I'll give them some general guidelines, but then I sit back and tell them, guys, okay, what do you think? How should we achieve this? What that means is that they fill in all the blanks because they are experts in these specific technologies or their specific, whatever areas. And what I do is that I facilitate the conversation. We reach that particular end goal which I have defined, but what the team has done is that they have helped me develop a much more robust plan which I could never have developed on my own. So again, I don't know, right? This goes back to this was when I wasn't open to this, when I didn't realize that I should be doing things this way. I was going about it all the wrong way, and I was putting so much pressure on myself. And again, it was creating friction with the people I was trying to work with. So again, my advice is don't be resistant to changing your viewpoint on a particular topic or how you're going to achieve a certain thing. You hire excellent people to be part of your team, right? When you hire excellent people to be part of your team, then why not take input from them? Take input from them. Sit back. You are there to facilitate, lead, and guide them. You are there to break down any barriers that they come across. It's up to them then to kind of help you lead and achieve that end goal for you. And that will also reduce any friction, and the actual end goal that you kind of create, it will be a joint end goal, it will be a joint journey. And because they have helped fill in the action plan, they have helped fill in the steps in the middle, that means they will be a lot more motivated to carry out the work that you want them to do, which means your job becomes a lot more easier when it comes to motivation. So again, be open to change. Don't be resistant to things when people come across with ideas, and hopefully you'll fare a lot more better than I did when I started off these things. The next one is communication. Now, this is one thing I can honestly say I was always good at. And the leaders who I work for, you could tell that, when looking back at it now, when I was, thinking about doing this video, when I looked back, any person who was leading me, who was who was my manager at that time, I could see a difference that those who were open in communication with me, I held them in a much, much more higher regard than those who were perhaps held back and weren't open in communicating with me. Because I could feel that there was a barrier, they had created a vacuum amongst us. And that doesn't mean that you always have to give good news. The people I worked for who were open in communication and honest communication, half the time they gave me bad news. Things had gone wrong, we need to fix this, or something isn't going to plan. But the fact that they were open in communicating, I still look back at them and think of them as great leaders. Not because they always gave the positive outcome, but they were open, they were trusting with me. And I remember that the people who were openly communicating and honestly communicating with me, I felt an emotional connection with them. And due to that emotional connection, even if the news that I was getting wasn't positive, I just wanted to work with them to turn things around and to fix things. Unlike those, right? And even the guys who didn't communicate openly, I still, did my best to work with them, but I could feel that there was this lack of emotional connection. We were not on the same page. I couldn't freely discuss my thoughts. There was a vacuum over there, and you don't want that. So now, when I have got my own teams, I always communicate openly, whatever it is, right? Because to be honest, they will find out. If I don't tell them, they'll find out some other way. Nothing remains hidden. Think back, when was anything within a corporate culture, regardless of the country, it remains hidden? People find out today, tomorrow, or some other day. What matters is that if they work for you, they find it from you at the right time and the right way, honestly. And then whatever good or bad news is, you will see, and I guarantee you that they will work with you to try and fix things because they trust you. They trust you to speak to them openly and honestly, And that trust makes sure that they emotionally connect with your objectives and they will work with you. So please be very open in communication. And I feel at times people don't communicate openly because they feel that again, maybe they feel that they lose control. See, this false sense of losing control, which sometimes triggers us to hold back certain information which we should be sharing, is just a false move. It speaks to our own insecurity, nothing else. A secure and a capable and effective leader will be open in communication, and hence communication is key. But I'm amazed so many people still across the globe don't get it right. Please, if you take away one thing from this video, it should be your communication and the first part, which is holding true to your values. The last tip I want to give today, which is the fifth one today, is to be committed to the development of your own employees, of the people who report to you, of the people who work for you. Again, I don't know, I've seen people like they'll hold back, they will, in fact, let me tell you my own story. I remember I used to work for this person who was very good at their job. But when it came to development of their employees, no. I remember this one time I had certain personal objectives of certain things I wanted to develop. They were part of my development plan, and in my yearly review, two things happened. One, I was very aware of the fact that my regular reviews with my manager just had not happened. In those regular reviews, I needed or I wanted to discuss my personal development, how things are going, and despite me trying, they just never really happened. Or when they did happen, the conversation never really went towards, okay, Zeeshan, how do you want to develop? And when I went to this annual review, the conversation naturally didn't go there. And because we had not really communicated openly with that is me and my manager, my personal development goals, which started 12 months ago, the manager didn't feel that I had made enough progress. I felt I had. I don't know, right? Maybe I was wrong, maybe my manager was wrong. But the point was that I left that session feeling that my manager wasn't committed for my personal development. It wasn't a great feeling. Nobody works for the same manager, forever. People change. I have worked for so many managers, and the people I value the most are the ones who were invested in, to a good degree, in my own personal development. Yes, it's my commitment to my employer that I will do my job properly. It's my commitment to my customer that I will do my utmost to deliver the results that I have been asked to do. But in return, I appreciate if my manager is committed to my personal development. And there have been people who have been really focused on what I really want to develop as a person, how I want to develop as a leader, how I want to go and develop those personal traits. They've helped me identify coaching, training, all that stuff. And that makes me appreciate them even more. And I really, if I get the opportunity to work for them, those people again, I would not without a doubt. So the false sort of a sense that I want to hold this person back and people do this, unfortunately, that because he does his job so good, if I keep him here with me, he will keep on doing this. It's just wrong. What we need to do is that we need to focus not only our own succession, but we also want to open up how the people who work for us, they want to develop, they want to grow, and how they want to develop their career, whether they want to go in one area or the other. It is our responsibility as our manager to do whatever we can within our own capabilities to help them grow, to help them develop. And I'm very, very, very focused on that. And that is one of the reasons of this YouTube channel, is to, share whatever little I know. I feel that over the past 19 years, I've had some successes, I've done some stuff, I've made some mistakes, so why not share it out? So again, if you are a manager, if you're going to be a manager, regardless of the grade scale within the organization you are, make sure you are committed to the development of your direct reports, not just through lip service. Please make sure you effectively take steps to kind of task your direct reports to have the personal development plan, and make sure that they're following their personal development plan, and you are looking at what ways you can help them facilitate in their growth. Not only will that again help you gather that trust from your direct reports, which will in turn want them to do more and better for you, it will also want them to work for you. So if you want somebody to stay with you for a longer period of time, this is one short way of doing that. What you don't want is to stop their growth or stop their progress, because the first chance they get, they'll leave. They'll either go and work for somebody else, or they'll leave another company, which will be your loss if they were a good worker. So let's kind of make sure that we're invested in the growth and development of the people who work for us. That's my final tip for the day, and I hope you found these tips useful. These 5 things were, I think, they don't encompass everything, but they are perhaps those few key things that if you actually embody these things, people will trust you. They will see you as a good leader. You'll get noticed within your organization as an effective person who can deliver results. And if you are seeing this video before you take on a management role, start working on these things now. So unlike me, you won't stumble when you end up in a management role. I still look at that, those times and the mistakes I made, and I wish I had known that. Hopefully, by making this video, I'm helping teach, and I'm helping tell people some of the lessons that work for me. And again, if there is anything else I can help you with regards to your IT operational needs, strategy, if you need any service improvement, anything you want to discuss with regards to leadership within an IT organization, whether that's any of the stuff that I've discussed before, if there's something I have not touched upon till now, why not drop me a line? You can reach me on Twitter, email me, LinkedIn, YouTube, leave a comment. I would love to hear from you. And again, if you like this video, please, I would appreciate a like, and again, subscribe to my channel so you're notified when I post a new videos soon. So till next time, when I come back with another video, hope you have a nice time. And again, take care of yourself. Goodbye.